right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, bet. We're live.
Oh, we're live.
Yeah,
We're
we're live.
live. Okay.
We're live.
Welcome to the Gradual Grind, where we're talking about the daily issues faced by young people aspiring to break generational curses, as well as opening up about our own journeys on our path to success. My name is Evan Anderson. I got my
I'm Jonathan Marcel,
Jonathan Marcel with me. I'm in Kansas City. He's in Houston,
Houston,
Texas.
Texas.
Hey, shout out to the H. What we talking? Oh, hold on. What's going on, man? What you do this past week?
So a little weekly update. This week was hectic, man. There was a lot of things that came up last minute and I was just not prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
And, it came from work, practices. I have a bunch of people that are asking for like one-on-one training now.
Mm.
So for those of you that are just joining in,
Taxi.
yeah. So people are asking for one-on-one training, trying to run our practices. My work just got crazy busy. So because we work with counties, they're having some issues. So helping them fix it was a crazy week. And not only that, but I had to go back to San Antonio. My girl needed to get her car like checked or fixed or something like that. So I just had to pack up and leave randomly on a Wednesday night, which was wonderful. But yeah, it was a lot going on, but I did a little inner thinking, a little inner thoughts, retrospection, thinking what I want to do with my life and if this is where I want to be. So just kind of trying to set out goals and figure out, what my path looks like for the next few years. How about you? What was your week like?
Normal work week. I was grinding it out, bro. Finding the brightness in the dark days. I've been struggling with enjoying work, but um, I kind of had a realization, like anybody who's the best, like that is like stands out in their field, bro. They're the best at what they do, right? Like they're they're extreme at something. And so like I realized, like if I really want to be the man in what I'm doing, I need to double down on like what I'm doing. So I can't just be working. I gotta have some background knowledge as well. I actually gotta live that life. So I've kind of taken a different view on learning and just research for my own job outside of work. Um, Hey, that's the last podcast, fingers crossed, that y'all gonna hear me in these iPhone mics. A young man that invested in himself. You know what I'm saying? We about to get
Official.
official.
Official. You can't really see my mic, but Evan just
Yeah,
recently decided to purchase his own mic.
yeah,
So we're about to be a little bit more official, a little bit more high quality.
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
start investing in making the graphics and the brand a little cleaner. So y'all
Yeah.
should be looking out for
It's
those
a
updates.
progression. It's a progression. Invest
The
in yourself.
gradual grind.
Hey, I feel that. But yeah, so that, and then like really I've kind of in my head just I feel at peace like with what I'm about to do now. Like I feel like I've settled down with one thing that like I'm comfortable with. And it's a multi-year plan. So like I don't have to
Mhm.
switch up. I just have to stick to what I'm doing. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
So I'm glad you found your path and are happy with your current path,
Hmm.
which is a great little segue into our three topics for today.
Hmm.
So just reading them out real quick. We got one talking about deciding your path, right, and understanding what your path might be.
Hmm.
We have knowing your worth or knowing what you want and your value in that. And then lastly, just taking the risk.
Hmm.
Let's go ahead and start with that first one. So as you were coming up, right,
Yeah.
what did you think your path was? And then how does that kind of compare to what you think your path is now?
Well, just like being 100% honest, coming up, like I had a single parent, single mom, grew up, and so like everything for me was like I'm gonna be able to do it without a pops. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
everything, no matter what, in the back of my head, I was like, I'm gonna be so successful, and I'm gonna be able to do it without my dad, right? And so, I mean, my path, I don't know what your point of view was, but like coming up where I came up, it was just like so tunnel vision that I didn't really think that far ahead. I thought like generically, I'd go to college and I'd play professional sports, and I never thought really far beyond that. But like today, it's just so much more. I feel like I've accomplished so much, not to brag, but like I feel like I've accomplished so much from what my circumstances were that um it's only right that I go further and I show other people how they can do it as well. So like my entire my path is completely different, but it wasn't like I started here and then just ended up over here. It started here and I turned. It's I
Hmm.
pivoted, and
Yeah,
being in like the corporate world now, they talk about pivoting a lot, and so like being able to pivot is enormous to like get you to where you're eventually going to want to be.
it's the difference between you being valuable and you being, just a commodity that could get, getting rid of.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. What about you, man? What's your path? What did it start like, and where's it going?
man, well, growing up, I was raised in a fairly isolated city,
Mm,
right? El Paso's far from basically everything. We kind
mm,
of live in our own little bubble. Um, but I had always had a really curious mind, so I was always looking, into the future of like
mm,
what I wanted to do in my life. And I, like every normal kid, at one point, I wanted to be a doctor. I
mm,
wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be in the army. I wanted to do this. Eventually, like around middle school, I decided, I want to be an engineer. Blah blah blah. And my parents are both very well educated. So my
mm,
mom has two masters, I believe. My dad has two masters and his doctorates, and then my sister has her, her degree. So for me, going to college was like always like that was the key, right? I was
mm.
gonna go to college, get a good job, make 100K, and live the good life.
Yeah,
Um,
you can still do that.
then
By the way,
I still
you can
can,
still do that. 100K, you can live the good life, make 100K, and be perfectly fine with your life.
yeah. And then I started to kind of understand, right? I understood that we didn't have a lot of money growing up,
Mm,
right? Like my parents did well for themselves. Like I can't, they were able to take care of us, take care of themselves. So I would never say we were dirt poor, right? We were
mm,
never homeless or anything. But I did see the struggles, and like growing up, you don't think about it, but until you start to think back on it and realize like, oh yeah, like they had no cash back then, and
mm,
they were living off of credit like
mm,
that. So I got to Houston, experienced a few things, got exposed to a few different people of different social classes and tax brackets. And then I realized, like I had said this before, and I probably said it 1,000 times, I realized everything I thought I knew about money was false,
mm,
right? Like I thought 100K was rich.
mm,
Like that's barely middle class, maybe, right? If you're single and you have no kids, right? And then I realized, even if you're rich, right, there's levels to richness,
mm.
right? Thinking about someone that makes $1 million a year compared to someone that makes $100 million a year is that is a different level of wealth,
Yeah.
right?
Mm,
Like so even then, there's more to it than just what I thought was success. And I realized, I've always been very interested in my thoughts and things I wanted to explore. So maybe a corporate job was not for me. Um, so compared to back then, now I've kind of realized that, and even then, there's been evolutions of it in between.
mm.
So before it's like, I'm never gonna work a corporate job, but now I'm like, you know what, maybe I will,
Hey,
and I'll do my,
no,
maybe I.
that's so real. Like I was talking to my friend the other day on the phone, and he's in school right now, but
Mhm.
um, like when we were in high school, I remember he had said something like, "Man, I can't work no office job," and like at the time, I was like, "Yeah, like
Yeah,
f that." But now,
fuck a 9 to 5,
right,
right? Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But now it's like, boy, you better work that office job.
And I
And
get
I
I
called
get
him
what
out
people.
on it though. I was
Uh huh.
like, I remember you said this, and I just want you to like realize that there's nothing wrong with working an office job. Like you can chase a dream in an office. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think a lot of the things I've learned that are really helping my entrepreneurial career, right? I hate the word entrepreneur by the way,
Yeah.
but my entrepreneurial career is things I've learned in an office. Like
Mhm.
I've learned from their mistakes and I've learned from their successes,
Yeah.
things that work well and don't work well.
Mhm.
And another thing, it's like you could be I'm you could be completely happy with an office job, and that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you have to put everything else to the side,
Yeah.
right? Like the side hustle is real.
Mhm.
You can work a 9 to 5 and be happy doing that and be content, but making sure you restrict that to that time period, and then do your side hustle, right? And eventually, once you build it up enough and you have some stability, like then your side hustle could become your
Mhm.
job. And then people don't realize there's benefits to having an office job. I didn't have insurance growing up for most of my life.
Right.
Like now I got
Yeah.
insurance. Now I feel like if anything happens, I don't have to stress about too many medical
Yeah,
expenses,
no,
man.
you're
Like
good.
I can go to the dentist now without feeling like I'm about to be broke for the next 8 months,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so there's
Well,
nothing wrong with it at all.
what's it called? So when we talk about like choosing your path, it's so easy to look back and say, okay, well, this is how I got to where I'm at now. But looking forward, it's a lot harder to map that out, right?
Oh, for sure.
And so I don't think neither you or me did a great job of planning out anything further than go to college, right? And I feel like
Hmm.
that's where most people lack because society will tell you, go to school, and
And
then
that, they feel like once you go to
it,
school, that's it, right? You
exactly
figured it out.
like there's
Nah.
there's no more advice after go to school. It's go to school and then boom, like you got to figure it out. And so now that you are at this point where that next step has happened, um, I feel like the next opportunity for you is to actually, or me as well, not just you, but like at this point in our life, we're both young, 20, 23, 22, that around that age, to set your sights on what's ahead, to kind of forge that path instead of walking blindly, hoping that something works out, or just staying the same. I feel like if you don't set up a plan for what's next, you'll most likely just keep on doing what you're doing. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
and
with
that
that.
and there's nothing wrong with doing what you're doing,
Hmm.
right? If you're doing well.
Yeah.
But if you're not happy and you keep doing what you're doing, that's like literally the
Hmm.
definition of insanity,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Like doing the same thing expecting a
Expecting
different
different
result.
results. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
Hmm.
And it's funny because you mentioned how people tell you like go to college,
Hmm.
and that's like the for me, I realized going to college was the beginning of the actual path,
Hmm.
right? Like my life before that was pretty much set. Go to school. What else can you do, right? Go
Right.
to school. Go to school. Go
Hmm.
to school. Your parents try to take care of you. You do basketball, do whatever.
Hmm.
But now, once you're out of the house, right? For me, and I was by myself in Houston,
Hmm.
like that's when I really had to figure it out. That's the beginning of an actual path.
Hmm.
And I realized I didn't know enough, right? Like I didn't know about investing.
Hmm.
I didn't know about investments. I didn't know how much it really took to buy a car,
Yeah.
right? Which I had to do 2 years in. I didn't know what it took to buy a house, which
Right.
I'm doing right now. Like there's so you
So
definitely have to think ahead and start trying to at least have a plan for what you want to do, but understand that might change.
can you give us what's your plan? What's your path?
So right now, my current path is this, and I'll be very generic.
Okay.
I plan to pay off my debt in the next 5 years, right? Because
Student loan debt?
I also learned about student loans
Mhm.
after getting into
Mhm.
college. Um, so I plan to pay off my student loans, any credit card debt,
You have a car
any
note?
car, yeah, a car, pay off my car,
Hmm.
and have that done. And I'm gonna try not to pick up any more bad debt, in my opinion.
Okay.
So in the next 5 years, try to do that. And I've already started that, paid off a few things, took a significant amount of my loans down a level, and refinanced a couple things. So
You
that's
decided
already
not
on the
to
way.
buy a house, right? Too. So you're gonna be
Yeah, not yet, but
saving up a little bit.
yeah, and even then, I don't consider that a bad debt because I
Well,
I
it's not
have an
bad
idea
debt.
of what I can do with that house,
Hmm.
right? So that's gonna be my next big step. Hopefully in the next year or so, um, kind of save up enough money to put a good down payment, reduce my interest, reduce my payments, and then kind of build equity in whatever I end up buying.
Hmm.
Instead of renting out, like I've rented out apartments for the last 3 years, and sorry I burped, but it's like I really realize that apartments are nice and it gets me a little bit of clout, right? Because
Hmm.
people are like, "Oh, it's such a nice apartment,"
Yeah.
but then I get nothing out of it,
Nothing.
and the apartments were just even more expensive than it would be to pay a mortgage on.
Hmm.
So
Well, man, like I think that it's so you're talking about making investments. Like that's kind of from listening to like what you just said. That's what I got was like your next plan is to make an investment,
yeah, for
whatever
sure,
it is,
and
right?
it's not even just the one investment; it's several different investments. So, for
Right.
example, this office job
Hmm.
is allowing me to have steady capital to keep making investments in myself and what I want to do.
Right. I feel that. I feel that. So like what I was gonna say is like we all. I mean, I didn't really start hearing it until I was a little bit, probably like a little bit older, 18 or whatever. But like you're like assets, you want more assets, less liabilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you can hear it, you can hear it, you can hear it, but until you apply that into your life, like that, I feel like that is so key. And it's key into my plan. I I don't know why I do this, but I kind of like push my goals into like other people's like, oh, you should do this too. But like I just feel like what I've like just recently actually realized, if I put this into practice, like right now I have no assets. I just have a job, right? I'm saving for my first asset. That's what I'm doing. Like I was gonna, me and my girl were like, we're gonna get a house, we were gonna do this. House is an asset, by the way, but I'm just thinking I kind of want to scale it up a little more. So I'm going down a different path. But like I'm saving up for an asset, right?
Trying to scale it up. What does that mean? Trying to have a
Just quicker return. Just
okay.
Real estate has relatively slow return
Yeah.
unless you can work really hard and quick returns, but
I feel you.
The general is a little bit longer. But yeah, so like if I can generate an asset that I'm gonna work, get an asset, that asset's working for me, then the earlier that happens, the sooner I don't have to rely on my job. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And like I don't know why I've heard it so many times, but like for the first time I put it into my plan and I feel it makes me feel so comfortable. Like if all I have to do is I can save for 2 years, right? And then I'm gonna be straight. That I just need to save for 2 years, 2 years, and put it towards one thing.
But that happens when you think ahead, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. For example, it would have been easy for me to see my salary and see my little side income and be like, "Oh, bet it's time to get that Tesla."
Yeah, right.
Right, like
I can pay. Like I can go pick up a new car and catch that payment easy, and I can afford it.
I can go. I was, and I'm not gonna lie, I struggle from this too. It's called lifestyle creep, right? As soon as you start making more money, you can afford more expensive things.
Yeah.
So I was like, shit, I might as well go rent out a room in the Hanover. I don't know if you know what the Hanover is, but it's these luxury apartments, I think around the country. But here in Houston, they have some, and you could see the whole city.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm gonna get a 22nd floor apartment, just live the life, right? But like, I realized like that's not gonna get me anything, right? Other than the experience of like saying I live in the Hanover, but it's a decent apartment. Instead, thinking forward, I'm like, but I want to buy a house, which will give me a return in the end, right? Because I'm not just gonna buy any house. I'm buying due to location and the type of house it is. Is it, can I rent it out, etc. So you know what? I'll find something cheaper to live in that I'm still comfortable in, save some money, right? And then I'll pay off my debts. So if I ever lose my job or income slows down, I don't have to stress out about bills, right? So now it's like it makes me feel so much better because I understand like, all right, once I pay this off, this is what's going to open up for me.
Yeah.
Right. And now I can do investments. Now I can, save what to buy a house.
And I feel like it's really good to create steps. Like I would start at their end goal and make 5 steps, 5 timelines, benchmarks, whatever you want to call them. 5 steps. Like what do I need to do from where I'm at now to get to where I'm at, to where I want to be, right?
And make them real actionable steps. Real. Right? 'Cause people are like, oh, bet I'm gonna graduate and get myself a 6K figure job.
No.
Like sounds good until you realize a 6K figure job is
bro. And I like to
rare.
Like when I do my planning, I like to like sell myself short. So like let's say I'm making, I don't know, let's just throw out a random number. So I'm making like $6,000 a month, right? And so let's say I'm spending with rent and everything, let's say I spend like half of it, right? I spent 3,000. So I'm making I'm taking home 3K, right? Like if I'm making a goal, I'm underestimating myself. I'm gonna say, okay, well, let's say you only actually take home 1,500. Can you still make it? Like
at this timeline?
Yeah. Like I really want to make sure that there is nothing gonna get in between me and that goal, bro.
So you even have your saying for yourself: under promise, over deliver.
Under promise and over deliver every single time. It don't like. I don't know if you've ever done this, but like sometimes I'll be thinking like, dang, when I'm looking at my end goal, I'm like, I want them to be able to make a movie about me.
Oh, I want a book. I want to be able to write my own book. Hey, and I'm not gonna lie, I've had an interesting life and I've had some interesting experiences that I'm like, I need to do something big so I could write this book and tell people about the shit that's happening.
Right. And so like you say you talking about writing a book. So I was thinking about this the other day, like if I was writing a book right now, what would I want to call the chapter that I'm in? You want to know the title?
Go ahead.
The Year of Suffering. Look. Yo, look, because I'm not.
Wait.
Look, because I'm not actually suffering. Like I have everything that I need. There's nothing wrong in my life, right? But we were talking about that lifestyle creep. I could live better than if I wanted to, but I'm not going to.
Why not name it like the year of sacrifices or
No,
something like
man,
that? It's a year of
the
suffering.
year
That
of
sounds.
suffering. Because I'm giving up, bro. I'm taking less out for myself now because I know that in a couple of years, my next chapter is about to be balling on these. I did a whole bunch of bleeps right there, bro. No, but for real, like I'm. This is my chapter. This is my chapter. The year of suffering. I'm about to go through it.
Man, I never thought about what my chapter would be named.
Hey, think about
It'd
it.
probably
It's important.
be like Wild Years or something. I don't know.
No.
It'd be like the Roaring 20s. That's what it'd be.
Right.
Oh man, but it's crazy because you say that and like taking those steps, and it's funny enough because I'm sitting at my desk, right? And you've seen a video of my desk, but up top I have like two dream boards.
Yeah, I saw the dream board. I commented on it. Yeah.
My girl has kind of convinced me to do, and I love it because it reminds me of like, all right, I might be taking a downgrade in things I'm doing, and I might not be trying to spend as much money, even though I can go travel and do things. Right? Well, not as much right now because of COVID, but later. But I look up and I'm like, that's why, right? So I have a lot of things on there. So it's like, that's why I'm taking the sacrifices now and why I'm deciding to try to live a humbler life, which is difficult because I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bougie when it comes to things, right? Like, I don't like Whataburger. I like Shake Shack or Hobdoggies, right? Which is like, costs 5 times more. Yeah. But like taking those, drawbacks to make sure, my steps are coming into fruition.
So what is like your value in yourself? Like, you have all these big plans. Is there like is there a value that you're seeking from other people, or is there a monetary value that you think you're worth that's kind of guiding your path? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, where do you get this? Yeah. Where are you going to get your sense of fulfillment from? Because that's where it's at.
So I in one of my company meetings, it's funny because one of our CEOs made this really good quote, and he said, the metric should not be the goal. And what he was talking about is saying how companies have like these monetary goals of like, we want to profit $2 million by the end of the year. But he's like, that's dumb because you end up taking all these shortcuts to get there that you end up actually devaluing yourself in the end.
Yeah.
And so I took that to heart because we talked about how I have this set goal of like, this is how much money I want to make at this time period. And I think I have to change that because I'm making the metric the goal, right? Like, money is not something that should be the goal, but it's a way you should value, you should measure certain moves. So for me, I think the value I see in myself is that I want to be able to have time to do the things I want. Right.
Specifically, like what? Like what is it that you want to like be able to do?
Man, so it's funny because I might not portray this, but I love philosophy and I love physics. Like, I love it. I love being able to just sit down in the quiet and read about crazy concepts like dark matter and the expansion of the universe, and just think of these theories and try to, make sense of them. And I hate the fact that I'm so busy doing some tedious things at times that I don't have that time to sit down and do that. Right? Like
if you had the opportunity, would you want to like go back to school and just do like more philosophy?
Yeah, I would love to, but I have to understand at the same time I have goals that I want to set for my family. Right? So if I was able
to, that's just like what you enjoy.
Yeah, right. But I understand that's the end result. For now, I have to grind it out to make sure I have the time to live in comfort and be able to do those things. There's a quote where it's like, good fortune allowed me the chance to philosophize more or something like that. And it was a philosopher basically saying how he was wealthy and all his wealth bought him time to do was think more.
Right.
And so that's kind of like what I look forward to. That's my goal. Now the metric is the money, right? So I want a nice house. Let's say I don't have $1 million mansion, but I have a nice $400,000 house in a nice neighborhood where I don't have to stress about anything and it's paid off, right? I have money for my bills. I have money to take care of me and my family. That gives me all the time I need.
Get you an asset.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe that house pays itself off. Maybe I have another house that pays off this mortgage and pays my bills. So who knows, right? But that's really what I want to do in the end.
Mhm.
And that's the value I take, right? So I hate having to take these tedious tasks of like, oh, like go ahead and file this paperwork or whatever, right? Because it's like that's a waste of my time when I feel like I could be doing something bigger,
Mhm.
that adds more value to to what I do on a daily basis. And
Right.
that's also how I go about looking for jobs to do,
Mhm.
right? Like, do I really want to work for Coca-Cola? No, because if that company disappeared tomorrow, what does it matter? Right? Like, does it have an effect on people? No, it might actually make people healthier. Um, but for example, the job I'm doing now works with counties and works with taxes and how that works. So I think that's important, and it's fulfilling to know I'm actually helping something that is important. So
For me, like we talked about this earlier, uh, like well, I mentioned it earlier, like how earlier this
mhm,
week I was looking at like actually researching what I'm working on. Like I have a career, right? Like engineering is a
mhm.
career, but like the stuff that I'm working on, the only way I can get better is by researching, right?
Put in the time, yeah.
Like learning more about what I'm doing. Because something that like has been on my mind a lot is your monetary value is a direct, not always direct, but often a direct correlation to how big of a problem you can solve,
Yes.
right? And so for me, it's like the more problems that I can solve, the more monetary value that I will have, right?
I kind of agree with that. I think that's where we want to be, right? I want my monetary value to be a direct
Hmm.
correlation to what problems I can solve.
Right.
But I think in reality that's not always true because you see a lot of these entertainers that don't really solve a problem.
Right, but
They're
they
just
are solved.
entertaining.
They're an entertain. They're solving an
Like
entertainment problem.
problem.
That's the
Yeah, I
thing. But
guess.
like
Mhm.
all these different problems, they also like they can be solved in different ways. Like if you're solving one problem for a large amount of people, that's how you're going to make a lot of money. But if you're solving like one problem for a small group of people, it's going to be less money.
Unless
But
those people are willing to pay you a lot of money for that one problem.
true, true. Nah, that not for real. But yes, like um I find fulfillment in my knowing my ability to solve problems. You know what I'm saying? So like that is kind of what motivates me. Like if I can solve these problems for these people, then I know I'm gonna be straight. And so like the better I get at it, that's why the older people get, the more money they make. Really, like the
Yeah.
longer you're in the field, the more money you're gonna make because you know more about that field. And so um, I, I have my career that I'm doubling down in, trying to get as much knowledge as I can as quickly as possible, and then I got my personal interests that I'm trying to, become an expert in those fields as well. So, um, yeah, my value is definitely within my ability to problem solve. And what you about to say?
I was gonna say something that kind of interested me because this is something that I wanted to relate to the last point of like deciding your path
Hmm.
is how your path isn't always set, right?
Yeah.
So if you're on a path that you don't like right now, like it's easy to change it. And what you said kind of resonates because you want to be able to solve these problems, right?
Hmm.
And maybe your job isn't your career isn't the problem you want to solve.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just getting you the experience to help you solve the problem later on.
Hmm.
And let me give you a couple examples, especially in the physics realm. And this is something that blew my mind this past couple weeks. I'm reading a couple books right now, and one of them is a memoir of Stephen Hawking. And in that, it mentions how this guy named Edward Hubble, who's the guy that discovered that the universe is expanding, blah blah. He has a telescope named after him that's extremely famous.
Hmm.
Before he decided to take on physics as his like his career,
Hmm.
he was coaching high school basketball and teaching high school Spanish.
Really?
And one day he decided
What
like
year
this
was
is not
this? Basketball is
this
not that old.
man
What year
it
is
was
it?
back like 1920 something. It was
Oh,
pretty long.
really? That's
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it would have been further.
Nah, but so then he was like, this is not what I want to do anymore. Like I don't he didn't feel like he was impacting anything. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, sure, like he's coaching kids, like yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But in the end, he's like, I think I could offer more. So he decided to go get his doctorates in physics, right? From teaching high school Spanish to going to get a doctorate in physics.
Mhm.
and then ended up making one of the biggest discoveries in human history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, same thing, Albert Einstein, right? Everyone knows Albert Einstein.
Mm-hmm.
The dude was working at a patent office as a clerk, reviewing patents, but he was doing physics on the side. And the physics he was doing on the side ended up being the most groundbreaking theory to ever come out of like a human ever,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even to this day, we don't understand exactly what he was trying to say. So the reason I say that is because, you know, you're talking about your career, and I feel the same way. Like, I have this career and I like to solve these problems, and that's what's fulfilling about it, because that's my job. It's literally just solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
But it might not be that problem I solve. Maybe I'm just doing that for now, and then I get the experience and I get that, you know, that knowledge, and I double down, and I take that experience and that skill and go solve a different problem with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel that. I always ask myself like the question: if you had all the money in the world, would you still do what you're doing now? I honestly don't know what I would be doing.
I definitely wouldn't be doing this, but I'd be doing other things.
I feel like the natural reaction would be like to just kick it for a little bit, and then, but I feel like that gets old.
Man, Kevin OLeary said that, how he retired and just hit every beach on the planet that he wanted to go to, and he was like, "Yeah, I got tired of that." It's like, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Well, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've like recently been delving into the Wolf of Wall Street. What's his name? Jordan Belfort.
Mm-hmm.
But he had like Grant Cardone or whatever, right? On,
Mm-hmm.
and he asked him, like, would you still do this if you had Grant Cardone's like one of those hundreds of $1 million people, right? Like, he has enough money. He does not have to work anymore. But Jordan Belfort asked him, like, if you didn't have to work, would you still do it? And he was like, yeah, honestly, like, what else am I going to do? I have to do something. And I was like, hey,
Yeah,
I'm glad
and I see that.
I need to get like that.
I see that a lot, man. I see a lot of people I know that have a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't need to be working anymore, right? They could just retire and live off a good amount every year on a fixed income,
Mm-hmm.
but they get bored.
Yeah.
And so that's why you see a lot of people that retire, they end up working like at Walmart,
Yeah.
just because they want something to do.
Right.
So yeah, I think I don't think I'd be doing exactly the same things I'm doing now. But I would still be doing something like this podcast.
I think
I'd probably double down on this podcast because
for sure, I definitely. But I feel like I get more into like the creative tip. Like, if I had time and money, I would definitely, because that's like, you know, the arts is like, you go to school for art, you're probably not going to be making a ton of money, most likely.
Mm-hmm. Unless you already have the money.
Yeah, right.
That's what a lot of rich kids do, it because they already have the money.
But like, I feel like it's so, I don't know if it's therapeutic or what, but creativity definitely appeases my mind. So I feel like, and I think that's what I would delve into a little bit more.
And I think that's an important question to ask yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, if you still had all the money in the world, is this what you would want to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, if your answer is no, and if what you're doing isn't going to help you get there, then I would put that and lower the priority on that, right? Like, I know a lot of people that like idolize, like they don't idolize the work, but they put such a heavy influence on their job when their job's not really doing anything for them other than providing them a little bit of cash to live on, right? Like, so
that's where this plan comes in, my guy. Like, exactly. This path we're talking about, like,
and you gotta
have a plan. Pick one goal to level, like to change your life, and make 5 steps to get there and do it. Execute. Like,
yeah. Stop thinking. That's the thing, though. You have to be able to get out of that rat race in the day to day. Like, I got work tomorrow. I got to do this. I got to take care of the kids. And think, what do I want to be in 5 years?
Yeah, and stop.
Like, really, what do I want to be philosophically?
Stop listening to anybody else except for yourself. Like, I can't. I'm what, 20? I'm 23, and you know, me and you got like all these crazy ideas. I bring them up to people all the time, and I always get I'd watch out, like, especially like real estate right now, like, oh, everything's super high price, like it's gonna crash. It's like, dude, I'm not listening to none of that anymore. I'm done. From this day,
let me learn for myself. From
this day forward, I'm not listening to nobody. Okay, if I put up 30 racks, worst case scenario, I lose $30,000 that I'm gonna get right back from working. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Now, I would be careful though. Don't, you know, if you're putting your house, if you're putting your house on something and and your family needs that to survive.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Chase your
I'm
dreams.
just saying. I'm just saying.
Chase your dreams.
No, and I agree, man. And it's funny because I get. This is one thing I disagree with my dad about a lot. He's very conservative on the things he pursues, and so when I have these crazy ideas and I want to do it, he's one of the people I don't really like sharing with because he shoots it down, and it sucks, right? Because it's my dad. I'm like, oh, like.
Well, now
Like
you got me thinking now, because like now if you've amassed like a large amount of wealth, and like if you're still trying to, if you already have a lot of wealth and you're trying to like make more, then I feel like, then make smart decisions. But if you're like, if you ain't got nothing, boy, risk it all. Because you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose.
Nah, but yeah, I agree, man. Do it for yourself. Like, I have dreams that people are like, even sometimes between you and I share this idea, and you're like, I don't think that makes sense, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna still do it though. Right. And you do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So
and
I think
it's a good thing
that goes into I think that goes into their next and last topic is take that risk, right? If you're doing something you don't like doing, and I've been trying to explain this to my sister. If you don't like your job, then amass some extra cash to, so you have a nest egg that you can rely on, and then start pursuing everything you want to
create a step. Yes. If you don't like your job, but it's paying the bills and it's supplying your lifeline, cool. Create 5 steps on how you're gonna get away from that job. All it takes is one, like, literally, if you think about it, most people, it takes what, like $5,000 to live off a month. Like, you can create 5 steps to do another hobby that replaces those $5,000. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I completely agree. And let's say one thing I would say is, if you're good at something, focus on those skills, because you never know. You can be a really good artist, and all it takes is you to make one really good drawing, and the right person sees it, and then you blow up.
Yeah.
Right. But just take it. I mean, I'm not saying go ahead and quit your job that day, right? Unless you just have absolutely nothing to lose and you don't care if you lose it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But if you do have responsibilities, keep that job for 6 months, right? Lower it on your priorities.
Not even 6 months, bro. However long it takes. That's the thing. Once you set this goal ahead and you make these 5 steps, you can take 5 to 10 minutes out your day. Like, actually do this. Write down, come up with like an actual feasible goal. Not like, I'm gonna make the NBA and my life's gonna change. Like, that's leaving stuff up to chance. Don't leave nothing up to chance. Stuff that you can actually do and nobody can stop you, right?
Like I'm gonna stop smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a week so I can save some money.
Right. Like, we live in America, free choices. We can do this. So a feasible goal, 5 steps, no matter how long it takes, do it. I'm telling you, actually write this stuff down. It will change your path. I promise you.
And that's part of the risk, right? Just if you can mitigate the risk if you have a plan in action. I know some people that are just like, I'm gonna just go for it all, right? And that's cool, right? Then sometimes they fail and they regret doing what they did. But if you would have came up with a plan, it would have been better. But also, let's say you don't know what you want to do, right? Let's say you're working a job that you've been working for 5-10 years, whatever, and you just have no clue what else you would do, but you know you're not happy. Then there's this concept that I read in this book called Personal MBA by Josh Kaufman. You guys should check it out. But he had a section called Personal R&D. So basically, R&D is research and development. Companies do this all the time to kind of find ways to innovate and improve their products and their services. They spend millions to billions of dollars every year, right? Look at your budget, find a little bit of extra cash, and use that to invest in yourself every month.
Yeah.
Whether it's learning how to code, learning a new program, learning a new skill, right? Even if it's just, realizing that my job takes care of me, it's not too bad, but I need a hobby. Like, that's part of it. Figure out what works for you and what's going to make you more fulfilled, not richer, rich, but more fulfilled in the future, and start taking those little steps to get there. So for me, I was happy with physics, but I realized I also wanted to get in computer science. And so I took some money out of my budget and I started learning how to code. I started learning how to read, work on Python, HTML, C++, and in the end, that's what got me my job. So, and I take some money and I buy books and I read, and it's part of what's helping me try to give advice to people that I love and care about, and it's helping them in the end. Right? So just take that time, take that risk, take that extra little bit to invest in yourself and find out what's going to be better for you.
So what's the risk that you're taking right now? What's the
The
risk?
risk I'm
You
taking right
yeah,
now.
like you don't literally like now that you're the next risk that you're going to take, like the risk in your plan. Like if someone were to like, be like, I don't know, what would they say that is about you right now?
I'm looking to invest big, right?
Mm,
So I'm not just thinking about 401k and Roth IRAs, etc. I'm thinking about making big investments into a house. That's my parents' biggest gripe right now. They're like,
mm,
"Are you sure you want a house?"
mm,
Right? I'm also looking into investing in family businesses. And this is not a cheap like, "Oh yeah, like here's $100." Like this is a couple $1,000s I'm going to put into things my family wants to do
mm,
and help them build that. At the same time, not only am I doing that, but I'm building my business, right? And I'm working a full-time job.
mm,
And I'm trying to support other people.
mm,
So I'm spreading myself a little thin,
mm,
but that's because I want to be the catalyst that gets people thinking of like I could do more, right? So two biggest examples in my life right now are my mom and my sister. They've been wanting to do these little side hustles for a long time, and they just never found the time or the money to do it. And I'm more than happy to take a cut from my expenses and the money I have to give it to them and help them build, right? So I think that's my biggest risk. But in the end, even if they don't succeed, as long as that they got that experience, it makes me feel happy.
yeah.
Right? Like they at least tried something instead of just taking what people consider normal
Mm-hmm.
and just do that the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
How about you? What's your biggest risk at the moment?
I'm about to buy an asset that makes me monthly returns before I buy a house.
Okay.
Hey, and that's
Is that in real estate? Is that in
nah,
what industry?
it's a small business.
Okay.
Yeah, small business. But finishing it off, I feel like you're wearing the perfect shirt for what we're talking about, taking a risk. If you guys don't know, he's wearing a loaded shirt by my family. Loaded stands for living off a dream everyone doubted. That's what you got to do. You have to take risks in order to live that dream, no matter what anybody says. You can get that apparel at www.livingloaded.com.
What a plug.
What a plug, right?
Hey, I
Hey.
expect a small little check from your cousin after this for that plug.
Hey, we got to get some sales first, right?
Nah, man, but I completely agree. And I'm not gonna lie, I love this shirt. I have two of them. I had these for what, 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah,
Good quality. I mean, and they kind of remind me every day of the grind.
yeah. Hey,
But yeah, take that risk, man.
take that risk.
Take that risk. But before that, decide on a path, create a plan, and know your value. Right? Decide what you're worth and what this plan is worth, and see how much you're willing to.
The risk is the last step.
Yes.
For sure.
Right. Don't just go to Vegas and throw it all in right before coming up with an idea. But
yeah,
for sure, definitely take the time to build off yourself.
Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for watching the Gradual Grind. Talking about these daily issues, trying to break these curses, and telling y'all about our journey and where we're going. Till next time.
Yeah, if you guys want to join in the conversation, we have comments, we have DMs on Instagram. Just join in.
Yes, sir.
Ask us questions. Try to hop on the call, and we're more than happy to argue with you, debate with you, or whatever. Just have you on. Always trying to learn.
Yes, sir. All right. See y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.